The suspension, or the chassis, is made out of music wire soldered together, and again you use the parts from the model kit as a template. And what you have to do, you have to sacrifice a kit because you have to cut it up, especially on the Gravedigger, so you can lay it flat and then trace it out. So you have to cut it here so you can lay it flat and trace it. And of course you got to do both sides. And then I also used a completed one so I could trace the various parts on a piece of wood like this. And then you bend your music wire to match that template. And then here's the rear roll bar. And the shocks are a bit different on the Gravedigger. They have springs externally, which I had a special tool. And with my metal lathe, you hold the wire in the special tool and you pull it out onto a shaft that's held in the chuck of the metal lathe, and it spins it into a spiral, and that worked out pretty well. I need to shorten them some because it sets a little too high. In fact, Dennis Anderson even told me that when he gave me his autograph here. He was looking at it and he says, "Nah, man, you need to bring that down just a little bit." Now, 10-15 years ago, RC hadn't come along as far as it has today. So now today, you can get these really cool little shocks. This is from a low-C Mini T, and they are like the exact size to use for this. Let me zoom in on that. And they're also a good size for the BigFoot as well. Now, of course, the drive on this is all custom made. Rear axle, aluminum rear axle. I had a differential from a Mini T in the rear, but when I was running it with a Mamba brushless motor, it fried the gears and the differential, so I've got to make a new one. And if you look at the gears in the center here, those are crown gears for a slot car. And then the motor is mounted right here, drives the crown gear here, and then it drives the whole thing. Here's one of the motors, stock Tamiya 370, 360, 380, $17. So let me show you some of the board here that I have, where I've got one of the chassis parts traced out. So here are the two chassis halves from the kit. You tack them in place with these push pins, mechanical, and trace on both sides of each all the way around. Then after you do that, take the pins out. I don't know how well you can see this. So then you have the template to cut your music wire and solder it in place. Boy, I can barely see that. Oh, there we go. Years ago, right here, spring from there's a shaft with a ball soldered on to the tube here, place, and then just on top of it. Here's when I got the chassis three-dimensional. A different shot with different. And then here I'm got a small vise with forceps and lock on a piece of wire to solder it in place, and then there's a small vise the chassis in place. Soldering. And there it is, just about done. Here's a shot of the gravedigger chassis where I'm using a block of wood to hold the main roll bar 90 degrees to the main chassis, so I could then solder that in. And then I'm doing the same thing for the front roll bar. And here's some shots of a gravedigger in action. Actually, that's the first gravedigger. Buddy of mine has that in Alaska. Daryl Cook. Guy in action.